I think our next speaker is due.
Yes, our next speaker is someone who I can definitively say I need to make friends with. She's not based in Africa, so I might need to plan a little trip to Hamburg to meet this speaker. And her name is Stephanie Schaub. Have I pronounced it correctly, Stephanie?
Yeah, correctly.
Perfect. Stephanie is a girl you want to get to know if you are a chocolate lover, like I am. She's the CEO of the Chocolate Museum, which just literally blows my mind. I mean, if that is not a dream job, I don't know what is. The museum is called Chocoversum, and it's located in Hamburg, Germany. And of course, she's a lover of chocolate. Like you have to have a passion for it. But what she loves most about her job, and what I really relate to, is this thought around creating exceptional experiences. And in her opinion, variable pricing is one of the key elements in delivering on this experience. So Stephanie is with us all the way from Germany, from Hamburg, Germany, to discuss and share her insights on creating customer value through variable pricing. And by the way, Stephanie, variable pricing is a consistent talking point in our live chats. We discussed it in great detail, well, to some extent in last year's conference, but we're really open and curious to hear more about how you are leveraging this as a technique to creating this exceptional experience. So welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm so sad that it's just online, to be honest. I would have loved to fly to South Africa, but still the weather in Hamburg is very rainy, so typical Hamburg weather today. And yeah, I don't know, but I think it would be nicer to be in South Africa. As it is already said, I am a CEO of a chocolate museum. And my passion and really profession is to create the perfect guest experience. Of course, on a strategical base, but as well, to be honest, on the operational side. I really love those days when I have to help out within the museum. I had one of those days this week, and to be honest, it's always so much inspiration to find when I work really operational at the guest, to be honest. But it's just like 2% of my days, but usually I work, of course, behind my desk. For me, perfect pricing is to create a perfect guest experience. And to be honest, for me, this is really variable pricing. I'm allowed to give this session today because we introduced variable pricing 5 years ago at the Schocoversum, and it was one of our most successful projects, and it still is. And I really love to share my knowledge about this topic. My boyfriend just asked me, "Are you not very nervous about your presentation today?" And I said to him, "No, I really love to talk about the pricing system. And I always have to be careful that I'm not too firing about the topic, because I really think it's perfect to create a perfect guest experience. And it really makes guests more happier. And I think most of the people are really scared that they will get a lot of trouble with the guests. But in my opinion, it's really the best thing you can do. We have 30 minutes, and I hope that you have a lot of questions. Probably you already have them in the Q&A, but if there are questions afterwards, you can always call me. You can write me an email via LinkedIn or write me a direct email, because I had a kind of a mentor when I started the project. He really helped me out, and I think you really need someone you can talk about. So you can always ask me as a mentor, and I'm really more than willing to share all my knowledge I have. I have to write down when we started, because we had a different starting time, so that I don't talk too much. So let's see what we will talk about in those 30 minutes. I think when we talk about variable pricing at Schocoversum, of course, I have to give a short introduction what the Schocoversum is and what is our project. And of course, there are so many names about pricing. There is this name dynamic pricing. We are talking about variable pricing today, and there are fixed seasonal prices. And I think it's good to start with that, so that you can hear what is my definition about those three buzzwords. And then we will step into variable pricing at Schokoversum, and I will give you my steps, and I will show you what we learned and what we achieved by taking variable pricing as our new pricing system. And at the end, because it's really actual topic, I think it's very good to talk about pricing and COVID, of course, as well. So what is the Schokoversum? I will now share a small movie clip for the beginning, and I hope that you all have chocolate by your hand, because then it's better to watch the movie. So let's start.
Hamburg, sometimes rough and salty, windy and wet. Or tempting and sweet. Discover the sweet side of Hamburg. We all love chocolate. The bittersweet taste, its delicate smoothness. The feeling of happiness. For chocoholics by heart. Fun-loving travelers. All sweet tooths, big and small. And everyone with a low blood sugar. We ourselves are the biggest chocoholics and love every aspect of it. Experience how bitter beans are turned into sweet gold. Race through chocolate heaven. And take a piece of it home with you.
I hope you could all see the movie. It's always a bit crazy when you don't see the people's faces, so I hope it worked out. So some facts about Schokoversum. The Schokoversum is a privately owned museum in the heart of Hamburg. It's a very, very tiny museum. We just have 80 square meters and 800 square meters for the museum, and we have 150 square meters for our shop. We were opened up in November 2011. This is why we will celebrate our 10th birthday this year. And usually, before COVID, we had 200,000 guests per year. I think this is a really, really huge numbers when you compare it that we just have 800 square meters. And we can only do this number of guests because every guest is visiting the Schokoversum in one of our tours. So when you buy a ticket, you will go into a tour with one of our team members, and this tour will take 90 minutes, and you are in the tour with 40 other guests. So no one buys a ticket and goes on his own through our exhibition. It's always is always done by one of our team members. So this is why it always takes 90 minutes and you always create your own chocolate bar and everything. So I have some more pictures. So we have a huge chocolate fountain. This is at the beginning. Every guest can taste some chocolate from the chocolate fountain. Then afterwards, what is really nice, I think, is that we have a fresh cocoa fruit. Most of our guests don't even know that chocolate is made out of a fruit. And this is very interesting for them that they can taste a real fruit in Germany. And this is always done and moderated by one of our team members. And we have, of course, several tasting stations about chocolate. How is chocolate really eaten? How do you get the real taste of chocolate? And this is, I think, one of the highlights for our guests is that you create your own chocolate bar within the tour, which you can take home. So you can decide if you want to have white chocolate on it, or if you want to have pepper on it, or if you want cocoa beans on it. And so every guest creates his own chocolate bar, which is taken home by them. So this is the several, that is our tour. So it's always, with our team member. And this is why we can do 200,000 guests per year. Although we just have 800 square meters in our museum. I think when we talk about variable pricing, it's really important that you, of course, know as well our guest structure, because we just introduced variable pricing for our individual guests. But I guess all of us, we all have some guests in groups which are coming. At Schokoversum, we have 30% of guests in groups. We have round about 4,000, I don't know what I have with numbers today, 84,000 school kids. We have 12,000 company members, and we have 70% of our guests are individual guests. So this is round about 110,000 tourists, which are not from Hamburg. They usually come from Germany, but we have English-speaking guests as well. And we have 30,000 guests from Hamburg, so local people. And when we talked about variable pricing, we made the decision that we just do this pricing system with our individual guests, not with our guests in groups. Because our guests in groups, they are really important for us, even though it's just 30%. But those guests in groups, they are coming on time schedules when no one else is coming. Our school kids are doing a tour in the Schokoversum, sometimes starting at 7:30 in the morning. I really don't understand, but we have times where so many school kids want to come, and then they are willing to come at 7:30. So I'm really, of course, they have really less pricing because they are coming to perfect timing for us when no one else is coming. On the other hand, we have those company members. They come a lot in the Christmas time, and they start sometimes a tour at Schokoversum at 8 o'clock in the evening as well. These are usually not the times when our individual guests are coming. So this is why I really keep the prices for them on a very low basis, because I think they are very interesting for us. So now we come to the topic of the buzzwords. So there is dynamic pricing as a buzzword. And in my definition, I think that dynamic pricing is always, depends, so it's always with an AI structured behind in a computer system, and it's always used a lot by airlines, hotel booking platform. I think you all know it from train companies or some web stores. I heard that, of course, Amazon is using dynamic pricing, and it depends. For example, on the booking device you are using, is it Apple or is it a different booking device? So this AI is very, it has a lot of intelligence. He knows what we are using for our booking. And of course, dynamic pricing, it depends on which seats you are using. It depends on the booking device. It depends on the day of your booking. So I think the difference between dynamic pricing and variable pricing is really that it's structured by a computer system, by AI. On the other hand, we have those seasonal pricing. This is often used by small hotels, some Airbnbs, or of course, some zoos. So when I talk to people, are you having different pricing? Are you using dynamic pricing? Some people say to me, yes, we have, because we have in wintertime, we have 15 euro for the entry, and in summertime, we have 13 euros. But sorry, this is not variable pricing for me because it's very fixed. It doesn't depend really on the day you're coming. It's more a seasonal pricing, in my opinion. At Schokoversum, we are using variable pricing. Of course, we could also do it with an AI, but I'm not really ready for that at the moment. I think I really want to know what our guests pay on what day, and I really still have this in my hands, and I still decide, but still, there is our ticketing system behind, and this ticketing system, of course, does it automatic. And it depends on the lead time of our guests. So is it 4 weeks before the tour? It depends on the day of your visit. So is it a day within the school holidays, or is it a Saturday? And it depends on the starting time of the tour. Because, of course, 2 o'clock on a Saturday, of course, on on a rainy Saturday, everyone wants to go into the Schokoversum and have a nice and warm chocolate tour. But on the other side, we have those Mondays at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not holiday time. And this tour, of course, is really has not a lot of guests within. So that's for me the difference. So it's not with an AI in the background. It's structured by us, but still our pricing system does everything automatically. If you have any question about this, we can talk about this later. So why did I make the decision to use dynamic pricing or variable pricing at the Schokoversum? As I said at the beginning, for me, variable pricing is really a guest focus because, as I said, we have those guest groups and I don't want to exclude them. A tour at Schokoversum for school kids costs at the moment €9.50. On the other hand, we have those individual guests, they are paying at the moment €19. So there's a big difference, nearly €10. But as I said, those guest groups are coming to times where no one else is coming. And on the other hand, school kids, usually they don't have a lot of money, and I don't want to exclude them. And one of my biggest task was that I wanted to have stable prices for those frequent guests and school kids, not the school kid himself, but the teacher who decides to come to Schokoversum is a frequent guest. He usually comes with his 7th grade every year. And I think it's very good when you have stable prices for him. So it's better for him to communicate and to discuss everything with the parents. So these were two steps for me, which really put the guest in the focus, because it's always easy to say, when I hire my prices, I do this for everyone. If you don't do it for everyone, you will lose at the end a lot of money. So I think it's very good to keep the prices for the guest groups, but change the prices for the individual guests, because here you see my ideas about the individual guests. A lot of individual guests, as I said, are tourists, and they are not really price sensitive at the moment when they are coming. They are more time sensitive. And times before we had dynamic pricing, there were so many days we were sold out for a Saturday. And there were families in front of our doors, and they were so sad because they couldn't get in and get a tour. The kids cried, of course, because it's about chocolate. and the parents were really sad and stressed because what should they do now? Because they are really time sensitive. They just have this Saturday to have a nice day in the city of Hamburg. And they were not interested at all how much the tour costs. At the moment, they would be willing to pay the double price just because it's raining outside and no one else is welcoming them, and they want to have their kids to have a 90 minutes nice tour. This is why I think then variable pricing is really on a guest focus basis, because you can give those time sensitive guests a chance to really get a ticket still on a Saturday or Sunday at 2 o'clock. And on the other hand, we have, of course, in the individual section, we have price-sensitive guests who are usually booking their Hamburg trip, for example, two weeks before they are arriving. So they are researching a lot because they don't have a lot of money. They are traveling, but still they are very price-sensitive. And they are more than willing to book 2 weeks in advance their ticket. On the other hand, those time-sensitive guests, they usually just show up. Yeah. And those price-sensitive guests, I met one just 2 weeks after we put in dynamic pricing at the variable pricing at Schokoversum. It was one morning I stood behind our cashier at the shop, and I help out my team, and it was 10:30, and there was a guest already buying a lot of chocolate in the shop, and I asked him, oh wow, it's 10:30 in the morning, you already did a tour at Schokoversum? And he said to me, yeah, because you have this great price system here. And I googled before, and I really structured my trip to Hamburg, and I was so amazed that the tour at 9 o'clock in the morning is €5 cheaper. This is why I really could save a lot of money. And of course, then I do a tour at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I can spend more in the shop because the tour was €5 cheaper. And this was really amazing for me because, as I said, 2 weeks before, we put in the new pricing system. And of course, I was scared as hell. But then meeting this guest really still makes me today very, very happy because I can see those very early tours for our individual guests are booked more often than before. And this is already the next point. We really had to stretch those demand peaks because Schokoversum is just 800 square meters huge, and we had 200,000 guests. This means that we had nearly 100,000 guests on those big days. And this, to be honest, is not nice. To be at Schokoversum on those days with 1,100 guests is not the perfect day because it's not very lot of space for everyone. Probably our team member get a bit more stressed because there are so many guests. So that it's not the highest quality. And this is, of course, not what I want. I want our guests to have a perfect guest experience. I want to have my team members to have a perfect day at work, because at the end, this makes my team more happy, and of course the guests too. And probably they, at the end, buy more in the shop afterwards. So I really hated those demand peaks, and I think for the guests it's even not nice at all as well. So I think it's good to have very high prices at those demand peaks to give the guests really decision why they should come at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they will have a perfect time. And for those guests coming at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, it will get nicer, of course, as well, because it's not 1,100 guests, it's probably just 950. And this is really much more nicer. I think we all know those demand peaks, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And when there are 10 less guests or 20, it's really, of course, getting better and better. Okay, this is why I think variable pricing has a guest focus, because we have those time-sensitive guests who are willing to pay more. We have those price-sensitive guests who are willing to come very early just to save money. And we have the stretch of demand peaks, which helps everyone, your team and your guests as well, and your revenue probably in the shop. And of course, I'm really sorry, I have to say I have a mistake in my presentation. It always says dynamic pricing. I'm sorry. Of course, I mean variable pricing. I'm really sorry that I have a mistake in my presentation. So, of course, there are those economic reasons as well. We wanted to ensure growth because before when we thought about variable pricing and we didn't have it yet, we really were at the peak. But stretching those demand peaks and giving the guests a real advantage coming at 9 o'clock in the morning really helps us to grow and grow. And on the other hand, we have this planning method. So a lot of times we started at 9:30 with a group tour, but no one came. And I had the team member here and I paid the team member who should do the tour at 9:30. But now having those prices, very cheap prices in the morning, helps me that I'm sure that this tour will be there and the team member will work in his working hour. So it really helps me to plan the days really on an operational basis. And on the other hand, I think we all are talking about weather independency. When I visited Table Mountain, for example, it was one of those days where there were no clouds. And I think this is really not usual or not often, not so many days. And I think it's very interesting to use variable pricing as well. You can always put something behind which says, how is the weather on the day? And then it changed because of the weather. And I think it's really, really perfect because we all have it. It's really bad in my thing because we are an indoor attraction. Today is August. It's raining and raining and raining. So we are already fully booked for the whole day and I cannot do anything. But when when I had like a weather system behind, and it would have told me 2 weeks, of course, in front that the weather would be very, very bad today, and we would had higher the prices. Probably there were still some time flexible guests who were willing now to pay not 19 euro for the entry, but 25, because it's raining and everything in Hamburg is packed today. So you can go nowhere. So I think these are the economic reasons, because I really hate it when I have those perfect Easter. We had at Schokoversum, we have the perfect Easter weekend. These are the days where we make the most revenue and the most of guests. So we always plan those days perfectly, and we have like 45 team members working on this day, and everything is settled. But then it's sunny in April, and we had those long winter period, so no one is coming. And I have those 45 team members, and I have settled everything, but it's 21 degrees in Hamburg in April, so no one is coming, or just some people, so just 500 people instead of 1,100. And I really hate those days, and I really try using variable pricing to get more weather independent. Okay, so now I will share with you our steps for the implementation for variable pricing. I think it's really, really important that you form a project team, because it's not something you can do on the side. It's a project, and it really needs a lot of time. Someone told me before, when I started my kind of mentor for this project, Steffi, you will need around 15 months. And I thought, why? When I make the decision today that I want to do variable pricing, and then I talk to my team, and then I will call my ticketing system, and then I will start in 3 to 4 months. But to be honest, I really needed 14 months. So you need to have a project team. They have to have time. And I think you cannot do it under 1 year. Of course, when you have a project team, you have to set your targets. You have to think about what is your target within the revenue, which guests do you want to not enclose. But for example, at Schokoversum, we said we want to have the stable prices for our group guests. So really set your targets, and then talk to experts. It's really important to talk to people who already done it, or probably to agencies who help you. We had an agency who is an expert in pricing system, and we had him in this project team, and this really helped me, because talking to our ticketing partner was the worst, to be honest. This was the hardest part, and I think it's good to have someone in your group who can speak the language of the ticketing partner. If you are a very data person, you probably don't need someone, but I don't speak computer language, and this was really helpful that I had one person in the project team who spoke this language and who could really set our ticketing partner on fire. So when you talk to experts, you have to win your shareholders' trust. When I talk to people who are managing a museum or an attraction, this is the part where they are the most scared of. They say, when I say this to my CEO, he will say no, because he's really scared about our revenue. When I talk to my team, they will kill me, because what should they do working directly at the guest, at the ticketing? So you really have to win your shareholders, and if you need help there, I can show you my presentations I did for my team, for the other CEOs at Schokoversum, because I think it's easy, and in my opinion, the guests are really, they know variable pricing already now. I think they are really used to it. They are traveling a lot. They know it from airplanes. They know it from hotels. And on the other hand, this is arguments which you can tell your team. They are used to it, and you will do it. You can handle it. And then win your ticketing partner, because, of course, when you make the decision, you want variable pricing, your ticketing system has to do it as well. Oh, wow, this is hard work. Then really make a data analysis. And of course, you have the implementation phase. And of course, you have to think about the internal and external communication strategy. And at the end, go online. So in my opinion, this really needs like 12 to 14 months. Take your time, and it's fun. Form a project team and set your targets. And I think you will love it. So now you can see our external communication for our ticketing. We have those different color codings. So on the left, you can see, for example, a September in 2019 at Schokoversum, where you can see those green days, where you can still find tickets for a low price level. And you have the orange day, where it's just a price, where the price level is high. This was the day this was the day where I made the picture. So on the day, so today when you are coming to Schokoversum, you will always pay the highest price. And I think it's very, very important that in your external communication, use color coding to give your guests, of course, a good overview. Where can I buy low ticket prices? Where is just a high price level bookable. So then when the guest, for example, says, okay, I want to come to on the 12th of September, and he clicks on the 12th of September, the next picture he will get is this. So these are the chocolate tours within the day, where you start at 10:15 in the morning and you have 5 o'clock in the evening. And on the right side, you can see again the color coding. And as surprisingly, at 2:15 in the afternoon, you can just buy very high prices tickets. And on the evening, starting at 4:45, you can still buy a low price ticket, because this is why you can see the green color. So it's kind of, you all know this ample system, and I think it's very used by our guests. They are used to it, and I think it's good to use the colors the guests know. So I think, in my opinion, it's really a nice overview. Still, it's not the way I want it to look like, but you depend on your ticketing partner and how your ticketing partner, what he can do in the back end. So what did we achieve? We achieved to ensure growth, because it was really possible to stretch the demand peaks, and this was why we could still grow at Schokoversum. We still have stable prices for our frequent guests. We can make time-sensitive guests more happy, because you can still buy a ticket at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, because the price is very high, and just the time-sensitive guests are willing to pay the price. We still make those price-sensitive guests very happy, because they can come at evening time or in the morning time, and we do not exclude our guest groups. What we are not that good in is still our online shop, in my opinion, and the weather independency is not where we want it to be, because we still do it by Googling the weather in 2 weeks and then put everything online. I think the next step for us would be that we use kind of AI who will put in the weather and probably give us ideas how the weather is like and how we should set the pricing. Okay, what have we learned? As I already said, pricing strategy needs resources. You need a project team and you need time. And one thing is, most of the people I'm talking to say, I will receive so many complaints when I do this, and you will not. Because when you are changing your price system, of course you get complaints, but don't we get all complaints about our pricing? If you have a very low price, you will still have people saying that it's too expensive. And when you have variable pricing, of course there are people saying this was too expensive, but now you have an answer. It's really nice. When I have someone writing me €19 for a tour at Schokoversum at 2 o'clock on a Saturday is really too expensive, I can write to the guest, guest. I'm really sorry that you made this experience, but next time, just come on a Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning, or come on a Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning. You will pay just 12 euro and you will have a great time because it's not that packed. So you have an argument. You can say something to the guests who are complaining about your pricing. You cannot just say, I'm sorry, this is our price. You have now some arguments you can give this guest. And of course, on the other side, what we really learned is that it's easy to increase the price again and again because you have a different communication strategy. So when you see a flyer from Schokoversum, it doesn't say Schokoversum costs 19 euros. It says Schokoversum prices are starting at 12 euro. So it doesn't depend if the end price is 19 euro or if the end price is 23, because I don't communicate this end price. And of course, it helps you in the growing market of the reseller because you have the day price, and the day price always very high. And the reseller, I just sell the highest price, and they of course can get some percentage on this day price. And I hope I could show this, even if it's just online. In my opinion, it's a lot of fun. And when you would meet my colleague Sandra, who is doing everything at Schokoversum for our variable pricing system, she's even more on fire than me. She really loves the system. And I think it's really fun. You will love it. So the last point I have is the topic that it was asked that I talk about pricing in COVID. What has changed at Schokoversum is that the government doesn't allow us anymore that we have 40 guests in one of our group. So we just take 16 guests in every group. This means that we don't have those peak days with 1,000 guests anymore. The highest guest number we can do is 300 guests at the moment. What changed as well, before COVID, 68% booked online. Now it's 98% who are booking online. So the guest who just shows up today, he will not get a ticket anymore. But on the other hand, I think to stretch the demand peaks is needed more than ever because my capacity is so low. So I really have to stretch and to get guests who are willing to come at 9 o'clock in the morning or at, for example, 8 o'clock in the evening. We have a very nice attraction here in Hamburg. You can Google it. It's really, really amazing. It's called Miniatur Wunderland. They, for example, they open up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they are open until sometimes 3 o'clock in the night. And of course, when you arrive there at 2 o'clock in the night, it's cheaper than when you arrive at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they are experts in stretching those demand peaks. And for them, it's the same story like what we have. The government doesn't allow them anymore to have those demand peaks. And they really need those stretching of them. And I think it's when you have already variable pricing, it's very easy to hire the prices, as I said, because you don't communicate your highest price. This is why we will change our prices for an adult next year to 21 euro. And to be honest, I don't have to communicate this at all. I don't have to press another flyer because, we just say we have pricing starting at. So I heard a ring. I just have 2 minutes left, and it's perfect because it's my last slide. I really thank you all. I really hope that, I had today a bit of problem with my numbers, so I'm sorry for that. But I hope I could set you on fire about, using variable pricing. And as I said at the beginning, you can always call me or write me an email via LinkedIn, and I'm more than willing to help out.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And let me just tell you, in case you're wondering, you have set our Q&A function on fire because we've got so many questions coming your way, but you're so so generously shared your insights. And I think what's interesting for me, Johnny, is, when I thought about variable pricing, firstly, I used the terms dynamic, variable, and seasonal pricing interchangeably. So I actually appreciate how you kind of broke them down and the distinction between the three. I also had a sense of anxiety when I think about variable pricing, particularly when it comes to like visitor sentiment, like how will they respond? Do they see it as being unfair? But I think my takeout is have fun with it, plan for it. And actually, it is a lever to make your experience, your visitor experience, and more enhanced and more superior. So those are just some of my takeouts.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think we're also fearful of messing around with ticket prices because we're so scared of what happens on Twitter, what happens on Facebook, who's going to say something bad about us.
Yeah.
But I think you put it so well. Once we have the data and the information, we have an argument.
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't like your price, we'll say, come back on Tuesday morning. It works really well. So I admire your bravery. It's obviously working, and I think we've got a lot to learn from you.
Absolutely. So are you ready for some questions?
Of course I am.
So Yvonne asked a question regarding visitors who've paid for a cheaper price in, say, an earlier time slot, and then they arrive in a more expensive time slot. Like, how do you deal with that type of engagement?
So Yvonne means that this guest comes again on a different day. So he visited us, for example, in March, and he paid just 13 euros, and then he comes again in October, and then he pays 19 euros.
That's a scenario, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, again, this is very easy to answer because our guests, they are used to it. They are all traveling so much. They are used to different prices. They know it from train tickets. They know it from booking a hotel. And this is our answer. We use flexible prices. And today you paid the highest price because you are coming today on a Saturday at 2:00. Last time you were here on a Monday at 10:00 in the morning. And this is the difference. And this is the answer. So be very honest with your guests.
Right.
Listen to him and really rely that your guests, they are not stupid. They know it. They travel a lot. So yeah.
Fair enough.
If I could take that question a little bit further, I was thinking if I pay for a 9 a.m. slot, but I'm super excited with my family and we get there at 8:30, and that happens to be the more expensive slot, what do you guys do? Do you make us wait outside? Do you accommodate us at the cheaper time?
It's at Schokoversum, it's the same like booking a ticket for a cinema. If you book in advance 9:00, you cannot start at 8:30. You will still start at 9, and you will hang around at Schokoversum until your starting time starts.
Okay. Great.
Stephanie, we had a question about the AI system that you referenced and you mentioned earlier in your presentation. Are you at liberty to share the name of that system, and is it an operator that we can use that's available globally?
Sorry. Sorry, why didn't I know? I just know that his name is Hans Blechschmidt, but I don't know his agency.
It's so all good. That's all good.
He's now kind of a friend to me, because we worked so much together and we had so many speaker sessions together. Smart Pricer is the name. They are located in Berlin. And they are doing a lot of AI systems for the ski industry in Austria and in Switzerland. Yeah, I think there are so many benchmark projects. If you want to Google, for example, Zermatt or something like that, they have so cool videos how they communicated the new price system to their guests. It's really amazing. I would have loved to show the video, but I don't want to make too much advertisement for Hans Blech agency. But it's really, if you want, I can send you the link, and you can decide if you want to share it to the community. This video, how Zermatt, the ski industry, communicated via a video the new price system, because I think it's really, really nice and really inspiration.
I like that
So
idea.
that's an invitation to all of you that are interested in this particular system or would like to reach out to Stephanie for any recommendations for systems that are available within in the continent or within SA. You did tell us you're open to us reaching out to you on LinkedIn. So perhaps
That's a good way
we
to start.
invite everyone to do that. Yeah, cool. Any other questions? Let's see here. So there's a really good question. What's the one thing you would caution operators to keep in mind? Like, what's the one kind of potential stumbling block?
The hardest work is really to get your ticketing partner on board. It depends on your ticketing partner if you can do this project successfully. I think we are just with 80% happy because of our ticketing partner. But for other arguments, we still stay with this ticketing partner. So it's really hard to choose the right ticketing partner for this kind of pricing.
Yeah, I would imagine that it probably requires a lot of research. But once you find the right partner, then you're kind of all in. It's a long-term relationship, like you have with your person. He's on speed dial, I would imagine.
Sounds like the door's open for some South African businesses there.
Yeah.
For our local attractions.
I guess so. And he's a very nice guy. But yeah, we don't want to make any noise.
And in your journey of, adopting this way of pricing and ticketing, what was the one positive, unexpected surprise you've had?
I think that our team members, I was really scared showing them the presentation and communicating to them our new price system. But they are very young. We have a lot of students working for us and they are traveling a lot. And they were like, okay, that's the new price system. And I was like, okay, don't you have any more questions or what are your arguments? You are hitting me now in my face. And they were like, no, we don't know. We know this from our travels. So yeah, it's easy. Perfect. We do this starting next week. And I was like, okay, this was an easy meeting.
Cool. So I think we have time for one question, and this is a really good one from Julie May. She says, thank you for a really interesting presentation. Have you had any backlash to higher prices? There seems to be an increasing annoyance in the domestic market about high prices and people feeling attractions are unaffordable for families.
Yeah, of course we have this, but we have... we don't have a family ticket because I think, what is a family? Is it one mother with 3 kids? Of course she is a family. So we have our family ticket has the name of four people win. That's the name of the ticket. And of course, this is always a bit cheaper than the other prices. And this is how we try to get those families still motivated. But of course, I'm a mom too, and I'm always shocked how much everything costs. Doing a nice Saturday with your family, and this costs you €100. But it's not the bad Schokoversum who is doing the prices. I mean, we are working with people, and COVID, on the other hand, for example, now we just are allowed to take 16 guests instead of 40. So we are really in a crisis, and this is why I have to hire the prices next year, because should I close my attraction in 3 years, or should I stay open and make people in Hamburg more happier because they can have 90 minutes tour with chocolate? So yeah, of course, there is this discussion, but yeah, to be honest, this sometimes makes me sad. I'm from the tourism industry, and I know how much we all work, how much people in Galilee is working, and they don't afford so much money.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tricky, isn't it? I think it's a very interesting topic, and thank you so much for your insights. Brilliant.
More than
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for joining us today.